Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we'll start a series that is inspired by Excel BI LinkedIn page. You can also subscribe to Excel BI LinkedIn page if you really want to improve your Excel skills. There are several posts of Excel challenges that you can try to solve, and you can also look at other people's solutions. I got this idea from a good friend, Excel Movement, Victor Momo. You can also check his page. He also do some due diligence in solving some of this Excel BI challenge. Thank you. Let's dive into today's challenge. So let's start. Reverse a number if this new number is perfectly divisible by the original number and both numbers are not palindrome numbers, then list that number. So what palindrome numbers are numbers, when you reverse them, both the original number and the reverse number are the same thing. So an example was cited. Yes, this is a number 2178. When you reverse it, it becomes 8712. So since this number is not the same thing as the original one, it's not palindrome. And when you divide the new number by the original one, it will give you 4, which is perfectly divisible. Then you can list the number here. So the first thing is, how do we reverse this number? 1089. To reverse this number, we must be able to pick each of the number, then change their position. When it comes to picking each of the number, the first function that comes to mind is our mid function. Mid function. So if you use your mid function with this, where do you want to start from? You said you want to start from the first number, and you just want to pick a number. It will pick, this will pick the first number here. When I change, if I want to start from the third number, which is 8, and just to pick a number, it will pick the third number, which is 8. But for us to be able to pick all the number at the same time, we need to be able to specify, to tell mid function to start from an array of numbers that is equal to the length of this our number here. So how do we do that? We can use combine both sequence and length function. As you can see, length function will give us the length of this. You can see the length of this is 4. When you use it with any one other one, to give you the length of the number. So with sequence function, so let's add sequence function with it. So with sequence, it will be able to generate numbers from that is equal to the length of this. So you can use this to tell mid function to start from the first, the second, the third, and the fourth number, and just pick a number. So now what we look at is, if we start from the first, second, and third, we want to reverse this number. We want the last number to come first, then the next second to the last, that way. So inside your sequence function, you can actually tell where you want it to start from. You can tell it where you want it to start from. And that one, since here we only need the rows, we don't need the number, we don't need it in columns, then let's pick where we want it to start from. We want it to start from the maximum number of the length. So if it's 4, let it start. If we have 4 numbers, let's start from 4. So we can just say let it start. Let's pick the maximum number, which is the length of our number. So it will start from the length, and if you look at it, it starts from the length and it's moving forward. That's why we have 4, 5, 6, 7, because it's going to give you only 4 numbers. So how do we resolve that? What do we want the step to be? We want it to take a step backward, so we use -1. We want it to take 1 step backward each time, so you see it will start from the first number and take a step backward. So we've been able to reorder this. If you now put this inside your mid function, it will reorder where it picked from. It pick the last number first, then the next one, till it will get to the first number. So let's see that. Let's see how that works. So let's put this into our mid function. What was the test? These are text. Then this the sequence will supply where the mid function will start from. Then how many number of characters do we want to pick at a time? We just want to pick one character at a time. So you can see it has picked all of them from the last number to the first number. So the next thing to do is to combine this number together. This is an array of numbers, so we need to combine it together for us to. And the easiest function to pick for this is to use our concat function. So let's use our concat function. We will pass this into it, then we have it combined together. You can see, but if you look at it, Excel usually align a text to the left side of your cell while you align number to the right. So this is a text now. So for us to be able to use it for our calculation and comparison, we have to turn it to convert it to a number. And one of the easiest way to do it is just to use our double unary. Double unary. And double unary means you multiply your value, what you want to convert to a number, by two negative sign. You know, in mathematics, a negative sign multiplied by a negative sign is a positive, turn it to a positive one. So you are not really adding anything to the value. You are only coercing it to be a number. So when you do that, you see immediately it has coerced it and it's now a number. So now we have a inverted number. And if you look at this, 9801 and 1089 are not palindrome. But how do we test if they are palindrome or not? Not by looking at it with our eyes. That is our next challenge. So now let's test if this is not equals to this. If we want to test for it, we can use, is this one not equals to this? We want to know if it's not equals to it, so that because one, it must not be equals to each other. So and when you look at it now, it is not equals to it. So it means true means this is not equals to this. You can also copy it down. So for all of this, none of them is equal to each other. Then how do we test if this is the new number is perfectly divisible by the old one? We use our mod function. When you use mod function gives you the remainder. The remainder when you divide one number by the other. So in this case, it should give us a 0 if it's perfectly divisible by it. So if you see this divided by this is 0, it means 9801 is perfectly divisible by 1089. Let me change any number in between. You can see this is the remainder. When you try to divide this by this will what the remainder will be. So let's return it back. Then if we copy this one down, but before we copy it down, what we wanted is we want to know if the mod is equals to 0. If the mod is equals to 0, then it means it's perfectly divisible by it. So now we are getting a logical answer, a true or a false. So it means this is perfectly divisible by this, because we've tried to compare if this is equals to 0. So when we copy it down, we can see all of them are perfectly divisible. All the new number are perfectly divisible by the old number. But let's confirm if we are not making any error. Let's change this to 2 again. You can see this has changed to false. So it means our formula is working well. So the next step is let's combine these two conditions together. We've checked condition 1, they are not palindrome. Condition 2, they are perfectly divisible. So how do we combine it together? We can use our AND function. We said AND this and the first condition and the second condition, and can definitely work with your logical. This, if it's true and true, it will give you a true. If it's true and false, it will give you a false, or a false and false will give you a false. So now we have just one condition that combines these two together, and we can use our filter. Let's move this out of this way. We can now use our filter function to filter out what do, which array satisfy, or which of the numbers satisfy all our condition. So let's filter it out. Then we have our answer. In this case, all our numbers meet the condition. But if we change a number in between, let's change this. You want to use 89. So let's look at it. Now we have only one of the number is not part of it. 1289 is no more part of this one. So any number that doesn't meet this condition will not be part of this again. So we've used like 4 rows here to solve this question. So let's see how we can combine the whole of this into just one formula that we don't need to display all this upper row. So let's start, uh see how we can make this a formula just on one Excel cell. So the first thing is, let's delete all what we've done here. We now know how to solve it, so let's delete it and let's try and solve it using just one. So the first thing is, now when you sorry, we have this formula here. For us to be able to use it to test, we must be able to store it in our formula so that we can use it for our comparison. When we want to compare it with this, we need to compare this one with this, and we don't want to use an upper row. The way you usually store a value in a formula is using your let function. Let function is the same thing that like you have in your programming language. So the let function, the first variable is a name value. This is any value. You can give this name value anything you like. A, B, X, Y, Z. So I'll give it A. So let A the name and what the name is. The name is A, and A is equals to the whole of this formula. Yeah. Let's see it. Let's call our A back inside our let formula so that you understand what I'm saying. You can see it's displaying this because where I'm supposed to put the calculation, I call back my A. But that's not what we want to do. We've stored this number. Now we want to compare. We want to do our comparison to check if it's a palindrome or if it's perfectly divisible by uh, 4. But before we can do that, we must also be able to call this. We can compare it with this one. How do we compare it? We can just do a. Let's first compare to check if it's a palindrome or not. We said a is a equals to or not equals to a2, and you can see it's giving us a true. So we've been able to solve the first condition, and if you copy it down, if you remember, everything should be a true, and it means this is correct. So the second condition is a perfectly divisible by this, by your other number. How do we do that? Remember, we combine the two functions together, the two comparisons together. So we can use our AND function immediately just to combine them together. We already state the first logical test. So let's state the second logical test. Is a mod, we use our mod function. If you remember, mod a by a2 equals to 0. Then let's close our AND function and let's see. You can see it's still giving us a true. We have two condition here. Is a not equals to a2, we want to be sure it's not a palindrome. Then if you divide A, which is this one, by A2, which is the old number, will it give you 0? If it's going to give you 0, if both conditions are true, your AND function will return a true. And if you remember, for everything the other time, all of them are true. So if I change this, let's do our test again. You will see this one has changed to a false. So let's go back to where we are. But we can also improve more on this our formula. Instead of doing them one by one and dragging this down, why not we just solve the whole of this at a just within a cell? How do we do that? We can use our lambda function, and we have lambda helper function. We can use our map function. uh, Lambda function is usually used with a lambda helper function, so let's use our map function, which is a lambda helper function. You can see in map function you specify the array. The array here is because we want to solve the whole of this question in just one cell, so we specify this as the array. That's our array for the map function. Then the next thing you have to specify in your map function is your lambda. So let's specify our lambda, and for our lambda you must specify the parameter. So the parameter here is, we can use any alphabet, a range of alphabet. Here I'll be using X to represent my parameter. Here what this one is saying, my parameter here is, your map is selecting a range of cell. The inside your lambda, your X, which is the parameter, is picking one cell at a time to perform the calculation on it. So your map will pick the whole of this cell, the whole of this array, but when you are in your lambda function now, you are picking each cell one after a time to perform your calculation. So it means X here represents A2, then it will move to A3, A4. So everywhere we have A2 here, we change it to X. We change it to X. We change it to X. So we can close our lambda function, then close our map function. And you can see we've been able to solve everything just in a cell. We've been able to solve this just in a cell, and all is returning a true. So now let's use our filter to filter all this number so that we can return this number. So our filter function, which array do we want to filter? This array, we want to filter it by the result of this map function. Let's close our filter, and you can see we've returned exactly the same array. So we've been able to solve our problem. And if you want to check if it's working, your function is working fine, let's change one of the number. You can see, because this one is not perfectly divisible, as we have tested before, it has removed the number from your answer. So we can see that our function is working perfectly well, and we've been able to solve the to solve the problem inside a cell, and this make your Excel file to work very fast. Thank you for watching today's tutorial. We've come to the end of today's tutorial. For more on Excel, and if you want to have more knowledge about Excel, please kindly subscribe to our channel so that you can be notified when we produce some other new educating videos. Thank you for watching. God bless.